Hey, this is MassX with a brand new One Punch Man the Strongest video, and we are gonna talk about, yes, you are terrible tornado. Why? Because now finally there's something really to talk about with the release of Keepsake for this character. Now again, I'm gonna preface this right off the bat. This character is not a must get UR, and I am gonna be doing a video that will come out this week also talking about the release schedule for the URs and which ones you should be planning for if this game continues. But I digress, and let's get back to it. Now, I finally finished off my terrible tornado. She clocked in way higher. I know a lot of that is built in because it is a UR character, but with this character you really want to build your attack up, and to me, crit. Now, there's trade-offs for both. If I was to lower the crit, I would probably be breaking 5 million for the attack. You know what? I've been testing both ways, and quite honestly, I'm not seeing much of a huge difference. If I have more crits go off, then it seems to be more beneficial. If I don't, then I'm losing a little, but at this point I am tired of using up locks, so I'm going to stick with her as she is currently, with her attack at basically 4.7 million with an HP of what, 13 million. Now, the problem with this character is not that she is an absolute damage beast, okay? The problem is that we have Super Alloy SSR Plus out now. So she effectively will basically kill herself over time. And I tried many, I actually had time for the first time in a while to spend literally almost an entire day testing different team comps with Terrible Tornado. Now, looking at those comps, and the best way to counter Terrible Tornado is with stun. And you probably go, well, why? Well, it doesn't affect her, but the less, if you're able to stun an entire team, then she is not doing that follow-up and that consistent damage. So, of course, my first team setup was using both Metal Knight and PPP. The problem becomes you start to lose your availability to have revive on the field, because what are you going to do? You're not going to take your Drive Knight out, so what are you going to do? You can't take out your Duelist, you can't effectively use Drive Knight now, so now you don't have a chance to use revive. Now, once the Keepsake came out, because if anybody's watched my prior videos, I did not even include URTT at all before the Keepsake and kept my old lineup, which was effectively using Atomic Samurai, using Mel's. I wasn't even using a Speedster, and it was beating the TT lineups. I was stunning enough and able to hold out, and without that Keepsake she wasn't able to do as much damage. But now with the Keepsake and that huge jump in damage power now with her, especially if you can get her fully maxed out, it becomes a major issue not having the revive. So I've had to give up, and I can quite honestly say still I wish I could run PPP, because getting those extra stuns from PPP and Metal Knight really cripples URTT's really effectiveness. But given using Drive Knight, you don't really have that choice, sadly. I thought about going a different route, but in the end, when I finished my testing, I had to go to this, which is disappointing, quite honestly. But again, it's very effective, because now with the revives, if she does happen to die, I am able to bring her back. Getting into that too, you have to pick and choose how you want to go. You can go full on DPS glass cannon, but what I've found, at least in my testing, is the longer she can survive those first couple of rounds, the higher your chance of winning. So I went with the drive set because of that. And by doing that, of course, I'm gaining that 30% all damage reduction, which does help. As much as I would like to use a fire reset on her, I have found in the long run, my survivability is better. So with that, I went with drive, and of course, I've loaded it up with as much AoE and any way to keep her alive with life steal. Got another AoE attack boost, some AoE healing, anything to try to keep her alive. And that kind of goes hand in hand with my buff gears, of course. Now, of course, I went with the triple attack on the hero buff gear, but with the purification effects, I was lucky enough to get an action healing. So again, able to hopefully keep her alive longer, but then you're going to go with all attacks. One of the big things I've been going back and forth with was changing this crit rate to attack. In the end, like I said earlier, it became less of an issue. The pros and cons are pretty equal going either way. So again, locks are going, so that's the end of it. And again, with her, of course, I went with crit, as much crit as I can. I would love to get one more on here. When I get some more locks, that's what I'm going to try to do. Of course, again, with your actions, and of course, your bonus damage reduction, bonus damage rate, anything you can do to burst her effectiveness. So showing in her action, you're really going to see what's going to happen here. And basically what I'm trying to do, and what most are going to try to do, is outspeed your opponent, of course, because if you go first, you're doing that heavy damage from the get-go. That's what you're hoping for. You're hoping to get your stuns in before your opponent's stuns. Why? Because then it's going to prevent that follow-up from Terrible Tornado. But again, it all comes down to, you know how much I hate chance in this game. You know, those stuns become very important early on, and Metal Knight to a certain degree becomes semi-crucial. Not saying absolutely essential. There's a couple different ways you can build the team. You can go more tanky, such as this build here with Lilig, and going with TTM. It's very effective for that reflect damage. Very good build, very powerful. But again, just watching when TT goes, you can just see the amount of damage at time that can happen. So effectively what I've had to do was was going very hard on my single target hitters, PPP before Atomic Samurai with the, of course, column hit. And I had lowered and really didn't put much attack on my Metal Knight. I've had to switch that now, so Metal Knight is in that 4.5 million plus attack range to take advantage of that, because really my main two DPS on this team are going to be TT and Metal Knight. So far it's been pretty darn effective. I've been happy with it. I did a lot of testing with different equipment sets, different buff gears, etc. And in the end, you know, as much as I was trying not to have to run a speedster, I went that route. When you're going to build your tactics, of course, for your team, you're going to have to consider what's most important for you, whether you're going to need that additional energy, whether you're going to need additional attack. Again, you're just going to have to play with that. It's going to be how your team comp works and how effective it is to what your purpose is going to be. For mine, it is going to be to hit you as hard as possible, as quick as possible. And so for me, of course, I had to set it up in that means. And by using Zombie Man, the SSR Plus, it alleviates the energy issue I was having with previous builds and not have to focusing on my tactics with that. So that's been a big plus. I'm not a huge fan of Zombie Man SSR Plus, but for this build, it's almost become essential. A lot of people prefer flashy flash due to the fact that you get that evasion and the AoE hit. But again, you know, everything's going to be a trade-off, and you're going to have to see what is going to be more effective for your team. The other biggie, of course, is always hoping that you can stun your opponent's Mels, because if you can, that's not giving them that revive, hopefully, that round, and hopefully, if you're lucky enough, you can do enough damage to eliminate their field. That is always the hope. Doesn't always work out that way, but again, you know, if you just look at the screen right now, you can see how much damage my TT has already taken. You know, there's a good chance she is going to at least die. As built as she is, there's a good chance that she is going to go down, especially after another set of reflect hits, possibly. And you just hope for the best. There's not much more to say, because when she goes down and you're relying on your revive mechanic, if you're using Phoenix Man or Mels, it's a really tough call. They both have their pluses. Phoenix Man is nice because you don't have to rely on Mels using its skill, but on the other hand, Mels gives such a powerful AoE hit if built up enough, you know. But then with Phoenix Man, of course, you get the removal of the character off the field, which is nice. Again, it goes back to that old adage I keep saying, is it's really how your team is built and what's most effective for that team. So for me, that's what it's been so far. But yeah, let me know where you're at. I've been very surprised with the amount of people that polled on URTT, quite honestly. The real next shining star of the URs that is coming out will be next month, but like I said, I'll do a separate video on the breakdown of URs coming, as well as a video on what it's looking like for possible closure in April with the current news cycle going on. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on TT right now. You know, she is what she is. I don't see myself using her after a few months, quite honestly. The character really doesn't have legs, and where the cores go in the UR area, I just don't see it happening. So with that, as always, please like and subscribe. It helps a lot. Have a great day.